I used to be able to lucid dream. You know what that is?
Yeah.
I trained myself to. And this is, I'll get into my story because of this, because I think part of the reason I have my nightmares because I trained myself to lucid dream. So lucid dreaming, for anybody who doesn't know, is a dream that you are in control of totally. You know you're dreaming, but you can stay asleep and completely immersed in whatever world you're in.
The
and
envy
you
of
could,
most people. Like, we all wish we could do that, basically.
and it was really awesome. It was too much. It felt like too much power, basically. But I got really into it. I was like 8, and I was reading. That was when I first discovered Google. I was reading about how do you meditate to get into to lucid dreaming, and I practiced breathing, and I did all the steps, and then at some point I just figured out how to do it, and it felt real. It felt like I knew I was dreaming, but I could just do it, and I did it. I probably did it maybe 50 times total. But I remember like I was probably 8 or 9, and I would always do the regular things like flying or like building huge castles and living in them or whatever. I was an 8-year-old kid, so it was all lightsabers and stuff like that. But I remember at one point it got something happened, and it was like I entered my lucid. It was a castle that I came back to every night. I like built. It was what they call a mind palace. Sherlock Holmes talks about it in that show where they talk about your mind palace that helps you remember things and keep things in categories. You would visualize a building that you build in your mind, and then you place different information that you need to remember in different parts of the house. So if you need to find that information again, you can visit that room and you know exactly what the information is. It just helps you categorize things. It's really hard. I did not use it like that. I just built it in my dreams so I could go, and it had all these fun rooms. Anyway, this is like another one of my story for movie ideas, because one day I visited my lucid dream palace when I was like 9 or so, and I went in there and something was in there I didn't put in there. It looked like a skeleton of a deer, and I think I've told you this before, but no,
Don't recognize it.
So I walked in my castle in my dream, and I looked in right in the entry. There was like this deer skeleton, and it was dead, but it was standing up. It had its head down like this, and it had big antlers, but they were crooked in weird ways. And I remember looking at it and just feeling a fear hitting me right away, because I was like, I didn't put that there. Scary, because I did not have control of my lucid dreams anymore. But every night I would go back. I couldn't control it anymore. It felt corrupted is what it was. And then everything got darker, and I'd wake up crying all the time, and I'd go down to my parents' room, and they'd be like, you have to go back to bed. And I wouldn't want to. And it was because I think I kept doing it. And at some point you just don't have control over that kind of thing. It made me realize I shouldn't be messing around with dreams necessarily, especially dreams I can control and build all this stuff.
Tying that back into that's too much power.
Yeah, that's what it really is. To this day, I won't try it again, because I feel like
You're going to, I wish I had a button for this. You could go into a lucid dream. You'd see it again. Finally, after all these years, and you'd go, oh dear.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, it's,
oh dear.
So I actually had a story idea. I was thinking about writing another book, a novel at some point, where it was about a guy who was escaping his life by lucid dreaming. And then the exact same thing happened to him as me, where something got there that he didn't put there, and it got corrupted, and he was trapped. And
That's a fun idea. It's scary, but it's fun.
Eventually, this is where it made a weird jump, because it was my mansion home that I built with all these fun things, and the corruption like turned this mansion home into a volcano somehow. That's another one of those weird dream things that you don't know how it got there. But then the nightmare, I had it every night for about a year and 3 months, and it was every night, without fail. It was the same nightmare. My family. We were driving up this volcano, and I was like, I don't have control over this. It was always started the same. Driving up the volcano, we go in this cave, and then cave-in happens. It's completely dark except for the headlights of this Jeep, and my family's screaming. They're taken. And so like every dream, it starts that way. And I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have lucid dreamed that one time, because now I'm at this volcano where my family's being taken every night. And then that deer thing, the dead deer thing, those are after me. There's many of them, and they're so creepy. I drew up one time, but they don't move like regular things. They wake up and they glitch at you like The Grudge. Oh, I hated it. It was so scary. As like a 9-year-old, it was just so scary. I'd just wake up crying. Anyway, I think it had some meaning, and the meaning was like, you think you're in control of your life, but you're not, kind of thing.
Maybe it's because I'm, thinking about my dream, but I think the meaning is very much the same. It's that you think, okay, I'm going to start with yours. I love the idea that this lucid dream world you've made is of your own making, and consists of all good things. And you think you're in control, and to some degree, at some point, I don't know if this is important, you think that you are all those good things. That is who you are, until this monster, whatever the word is, appears, and you go, I didn't put that there. But the truth is, and this is the scary part.
Whoa.
You did put that there. That's what's... And
yes. That's cool.
And so I was just thinking about that and about my dream. It's like something about how my character said, I'm not above you. I'm not above anyone else that you've killed. I'm just as bad as you are, but you're no better than me.
Right.
Something like that. I don't know. It was I was starting to pick up this, but I love that idea that you described. And I was like, that's what makes it scary.
Yeah.
That, and you're like, who put it there? Until you realize it was me.
Exactly.
Kind of like, yeah, whatever. That's fun.
At some point during this podcast, I'll explain through the rest of the dream. I could do it now or not.
There's more to the dream.
It was a long dream. That's what I was trying to warn you earlier. Like, if we talk about dreams, it might take a while.
I think people would want to hear the whole dream.
I'll make it quick as possible. You can imagine having this every night for a year means I had this dream upwards of 300, almost 400 times, basically. I think it was 420 times, because it was about a year and 3 months. And every night I was a firm believer in God. I'd pray that I didn't have the dream, and it would not work. I'd have it. Anyway, so it's all tied in with my belief in God as a young kid. And, it's when my first faith crisis happened, like, God's not real if he's making me have this nightmare kind of thing. But then it was me. It was my fault for building this fantasy world that I could escape to. And anyway. So the dream starts always driving a Jeep up a volcano, cave in, family's taken.
This I remember.
Yeah. And this is the part where it sort of became like a write your own novel or whatever they call those.
I know what you mean. I just don't know what it's called.
It's like those varying stories where they give you choose your path or whatever.
It's a fork tree story. It's a multiple choice story.
Mm-hmm. And so, but it was multi-dimensional because I had complete control once the cave-in had occurred. I was completely in control. The Jeep had one long rope in it.
I'm guessing this is a Cherokee, by the way.
What?
The Jeep? Is it like a Cherokee?
A Wrangler.
Oh, it is a Wrangler.
Yeah, it was open roof.
Was it a 2-door or a 4-door? Do you know what color it was? I don't know how descriptive your
black.
dreams are.
It was a black.
Was it dark green or was it black, or do you not know?
It was just like tubing, really. It might not have even been a Jeep. It was more like a what do they call those? The caged things that go up that can go travel off road. It's not really important.
I know it's not important. I was really just curious how much you remembered or how detailed it was.
Big wheels. I didn't focus on that as much. The focus points of that were that the headlights were left on. And there was rope in the trunk, and you climbed into the trunk because it was open face. I climbed from the back seat into the trunk, and I grabbed the rope first, and then I moved the car. I had to learn how to reverse a car, and I moved the car like this so it could face. There's this crack in the cave, and when you got through the crack, you had to use the rope to get down, but then you tie the rope to a rock and you climb down. Then it was a labyrinth, and that was the part I was in. I was stuck in the labyrinth for months. It was probably a year that I was just, every night I was just running around this labyrinth and I could not get out. And eventually I talked to my mom about it, or my dad. I can't remember which of my parents, but I would describe the dream to them, and like, it's a mental block. Like, you're not going to get out of the labyrinth. You have to force yourself to find a way out, kind of thing. And it was the same. I tried everything, and as soon as you'd see one of those deer creatures, they just glitch at you, and you'd wake up, and I'd be crying, and it'd be scary. Anyway, so for just like a month, I like think about it really hard. Like, when I see the labyrinth, I'm gonna dig out. I'm gonna dig underneath it, and I'm gonna get to my family. That's where they're gonna be. I just think about it, and I'd get there, and I'd be digging, and I could never get through until one day I finally did. And I read a Bible verse before that happened too. There was a certain Bible verse that I associated with. I was just thinking about the Bible verse the whole time, and it was about fear. It was Proverbs 3:27 or something like that. It was, I can't remember which Bible verse it was, but I remembered it really well then. It was about the Lord did not give you a spirit of fear, something else like that. It was something like that. I just remember thinking, He didn't give me a spirit of fear. I'm gonna just dig. And it sounds really corny and like too story like, but to a 9-year-old, like, this was like power, yes. And so I'm digging. And I remember I broke through and I fell through and I was like, oh, I got out. And then of course there was like a deer and it got me right away, but I was like, oh, now I know I can get through. And then as soon as I get to the labyrinth from then on, I just dig right through. And then I could go to the next part. And the next part was a long hallway and you could see a light, like a red light at the end of this hallway. And there was always a deer like in the hallway. And so I had to face the deer. The dead corrupt thing that had corrupted my dreams in the first place. And that is a part I don't remember. I don't remember how I beat the deer at all. I just, one day I got past it. And then when I got to the light, it was super long tunnel, but I got there and it was a volcano with the lava. It was very Mount Doom. I had just watched Lord of the Rings. And then there's my family were 2 cages and the bad guy said, you have to pick. I don't remember who the bad guy was. It was just a bad generic guy that I knew was a bad guy. And I did not want to pick. And so I used the rope and I'd throw it around both the cages and I'd pull them in and then I'd push the bad guy into the lava. And then I never had the dream again. And it was bizarre. Like I think about that now. I'm like, I had the same dream every day for a year and 3 months. And
but you did it. You saved him.
I saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there definitely was like some meaning to be derived there. And I think like the overall theme was that I'm not in control and I have to remember that somehow. I don't know. It was, sorry.
No, I'm not trying to interrupt you. To back out a little bit, I'm not saying that I think dreams always have meaning and you have them because there's meaning. It's just, I think you can extrapolate meaning from them and therefore add more value to them after the fact. So,
it seems to me that if you have a dream every day for a year and 3 months, you probably should try to extrapolate meaning.
It would be
from
nice if I could make sense of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, the meaning that I think you're describing it, which is, well, it's going to sound really basic. So there are some problems you can't run away from and you just have to hammer away at them and face them.
Yeah.
That's a hard lesson to learn, but it's a good lesson.
It might have been, honestly, maybe that dream, the lessons to be derived from it were not for that time in my life. Maybe that's such a memorable amount of time to have the same nightmare. Maybe that'll apply to me right now. Maybe there's something I need to hammer and know there's no way around this. I just have to go through it. That was the part that makes me wish I could figure out how I got through that deer.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that was the part that I need for my life right now.
Yeah. Maybe you'll remember that later.
Yeah.
Or it'd be scary.
Yeah.
What if the dream comes up later?
The crazy volcano stuck in my family's in cages part.
Yeah.
It was all very Spy Kids and like Disney bad guy thing. It wasn't like they were real stakes to a kid.
Yeah.
Like, of course it's in a volcano and your family's in cages and you have to pick.
Of course it's a volcano. Yeah. Of course they're in a cage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You think you're a 9?
I was 10 when the dream stopped.
Yes.